Well, hello, this is Jeff Gaudiosi, and you're on misplacedstraws.com, where music comes to life. And my guest today is not only a fantastic musician, but he's also just a really nice guy. He's making his third trip to the site as he gets ready to release his third record from the Baron von Bielski Orchestra. The record is called The Escapologist. It's out everywhere February 21st, and it's always a pleasure to have him on. Welcome back, Jason Bieler.
Thank you very much.
Now, when you first announced this record on social media a couple months back, you asked people what they thought the title, The Escapologist, meant. Well, now it's your turn. What does it mean for you?
I'll have to ask the voices in my head.
Pick the
Um,
best one.
I mean, I don't know that I have a definitive meaning. It's just one of those things that I came across, um, and it felt apropos for what was going on. Because I mean, there's a lot of, not just metaphorically escaping themes throughout the songs, and obviously there's the overarching space, kind of lyrically throughout some of the stuff, but also just escaping life, escaping the day-to-day insanity that we're all dealing with, escaping oneself, escaping, it just felt like it really kind of you know, maybe getting away from all the noise and the other things in life. So that could be escaping a tragedy, escaping, bad influences within your life, social circles, stress, escaping life choices that maybe didn't serve you ultimately the way you had hoped, and all that kind of stuff. That's really the main gist of it.
And now, a few of the tracks on the record were released over the past year or so as kind of standalone singles. Were those songs recorded back during the Postcards from the Asylum sessions? Have you changed them at all for this release?
Yeah.
What are their histories?
I mean, I'm always writing constantly.
Yeah.
I've just kind of come to this battle, like where some of the people in my circle have pointed out, like, I've always released these kind of writing demos on Bandcamp over
Mhm.
the years that are kind of sketches. And then every once in a while, it's brought to my attention that, that's a great song. You should really do something with that. It doesn't need to sit there in that skeletal format.
Mhm.
So maybe you should revisit that. Because, the Bandcamp thing's been wonderful and it's developed this whole little cultural following, but not being deluded to thinking Bandcamp is the wider world.
Yeah.
It's a kind of, so sometimes to let these songs just die in the boneyard of, writing demos is not the appropriate thing to do. Plus, I'm always writing new music, so it's this constant juggling of, I guess, it's a good problem to have, but there's literally hundreds of songs in various stages of, completion that I'm always kind of, I want to do new stuff, but I don't want to leave my friend behind, that deserves another shot. So, yeah, I mean, I'm already 5 songs into the next record,
Yeah. And now, being more or less an independent artist, not really having to answer to a label, does it help with that creativity where you can just put a song out for the hell of it on Bandcamp because you want someone to hear it?
I think I have the opposite problem of a lot of artists who spend all this time. Like to me, it was the whole this whole thing started in terms of the Baron von Bielski Orchestra as kind of a writing experiment originally on Bandcamp. So my thought was, having been a studio owner and had Neve consoles and analog tape machines and all the bells and whistles and all the outboard gear, there's just this tendency to sit and work on a snare sound for 6 months
Mhm.
and never do anything. Never actually get a song done. So the original challenge was like, I want to write, record, release, mix these ideas in 24 hours. I just want to get into the process of being a better writer. And I think, there's only one way to do that, and
Mhm.
that's to write all the time. But also not get hung up in I'm going to stay on this for 9 months before I tweak it. So that's where the really impetus for the whole kind of thing started to come from. Um, I never, to my detriment, I'm sure, I don't never listen to the labels. And
Mhm.
even going back to working with Jason Flom and Atlantic, and who are all good people,
Yeah.
and I don't mean this in a sense of like they don't have valuable input, because they all had valuable input. But even Jason would sit with me, who's like a legendary A&R
Yeah.
guy, who, for people who don't know, he would go, dude, I have no idea what the hell you're doing. Like I really don't know. do it. He never stopped me from doing it, but he was like, you are going to hang by your own rope
Yeah.
or you'll be successful.
Right.
One of those two things. So he really was never, uh, you know, uh, everyone likes to paint the labels to be these horrible
Mhm.
killers of creativity. And in my case, I can't speak to every other art, but I mean, he was just like, I don't think he ever understood what the hell I was trying to do in the first place. I think he knew there was something there, which was nice,
Yeah.
but wasn't sure what it was. So his really thing was like, look, let's just do it and figure it out. It's either going to work or it won't.
Mhm.
So that was kind of really freeing. And I mean, I think the beauty of doing it this way and releasing it, and it's again, like I hate bitter artists who say the radio and the manager and everybody's. It's not about that because I think everybody's got really cool input and I'm sure can shape things. For me, it's just been really freeing because now I can do what I want, like a stubborn, petulant little child. It's my
Mhm.
toy, and for better or worse, I get to do exactly what I want to do, and it's been it's been the most rewarding thing because I feel like strangely enough, at this point in my career, most artists don't get this opportunity to be rediscovered,
Mhm.
or walk away from their past. Not walk away from it, but I'm in the unique position of having a large contingent of people who have no idea where I came from or what
Right.
happened. They're just discovering it now, and that's an amazing problem to have.
Mhm.
There's very few people. I think me and the singer from Fastway, who's in Flogging Molly,
Yeah.
are the only two guys that walked out of, and people don't really
You get two
realize, like,
separate careers.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, which is a gift. So yeah, I mean, I've been really fortunate and happy to, and I think my base and the Prague people in general, that have been so kind to me have really just, you know, blessed me with this ability to, like, they come to this ride to be thrown off.
Mhm.
So there's not this kind of burden of expectation of, like, this, you have to make a driving
Right.
just straight rock record, or you have to make a country western record, or
Mhm.
they literally want me to, like, they want a left turn. They almost, I'd have worse success by a formula
Yeah.
than, yeah, than anybody else probably would, because the people that have supported me have been really embracing of that.
Well, and it's funny because that leads right into where I was going next. The first two records had a similar feel about them. They had a similar aesthetic about them. They were both really long records, 14, 15 songs on that. This record is kind of that left turn. It's a little more focused. The songs I think, and again, your last record, I had you just behind Peter Gabriel's record of the year. I absolutely loved it. But this
Who's this
record,
Peter Gabriel you speak of? I've
yeah,
never,
it's some new guy. I'll
young.
turn you on to him a little later.
I hope it works out for him.
you know, but with this one, you took a left turn again, and it feels very homogenous, very focused. Is it a matter of just that's what you were writing at the time, or again, are you sitting there saying, "Okay, I've done this big grand thing. Now I want to come back and do something a little smaller."
I think it was pretty self-indulgent to make two double records as the first two records. Um, uh, I mean, I'm very proud of what we did, but I also realized just the nature, and it wasn't an artistic decision, but I think it was just a factor, that, I wanted to get to the point maybe a little quicker, not, and also be respectful of people. Not everybody has a long weekend to spend with me to digest the full thing. So I might be better served by, for me, focusing down to only 10 songs, and then doing another record in 6 months or 8 months or whenever that may be might serve me better than trying to jam these concepts down. The problem is I have so much music that what winds up happening when I don't release stuff is it just starts stacking up, and then it feels like this never-ending pile of music to get out. But yeah, I mean, I think there was, I think I've quoted it before. I think it was Stephen King who was talking about, try to figure out how to say the impactful line with less words,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. You don't need to have 9 paragraphs to kind of just articulate a thought.
Yeah.
And but that doesn't mean, like, I won't do a 45-minute ambient orchestration of some kind of show tune next record. It just felt like I wanted to get this record, and it also, these songs tended to, while thematically all different, maybe stylistically, there is a kind of weird thread that kind of follows through them.
And One of the things that always draws me in with your records is your lyric writing. I mean, yeah, there's the humor, there's the irony, but there's also some pretty dark spots that pop up in between that kind of stop you when you're listening to it. Where do you find your inspiration? I mean, does it come from reading the news, your personal life? Where does that whole, amalgam of the humor, the irony, and the dark spots kind of come from?
Well, thanks.
Mm,
I think it's really, going back to like the story I've told before, but it's like when I was like very young, my step grandmother, I mean like six,
mm.
gave me, Edgar Allan Poe anthology of all those, especially the short stories and that's fantastic, but maybe a little dark for, maybe a little scarring,
Yeah.
for, when everyone else was kind of Dr. Seussing it, and the bunny went here. I'm like, and he buried the guy in the wall kind of stories. So that probably always had a shape in the back of my head. Like there can be no good story without a tragic
Mhm.
element to it. Um, and then just in general, I think it's in my head. I really don't, like I said, I always bring my wife into it. It disturbs her tremendously when she hears songs like "I have a, I bought a human head," and things like that. She's like, "Do I need to worry about, should there be like a, uh, I think it's just in me. Like there's just
Mm,
an in me thing, and I love Barry Manilow,
mhm.
and I love positivity, and I'm not a negative person, but I'm just that kind of guy. Like there's a rainbow, there's probably an amputated foot in the gutter. It's like it's just the way
Yeah,
my brain
I get it. I get it.
works. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of us that get it, which is why we're drawn to your records because it kind of articulates what, goes on in all of our heads, unfortunately. Yeah.
It doesn't make it
Now,
a safe place to be walking around in the streets. I don't think so.
yeah. Again, this is the third record with as the Baron von Bielski Orchestra. You have a lot of material now. Do you see a time when you would put a live band together and go out just with this material?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the goal this year specifically. I wanted to build it, and we've been very fortunate that the support's been growing and our
Mhm,
little world is kind of expanding slowly but surely. But I just wanted to be able to do it in a capacity where I can bring the musicians I want with
mhm,
me. I didn't want to have to cut corners or, not that there's anything wrong with just bouncing around the country aimlessly, but I wanted to have you know these a certain caliber of musicians to bring this to life the right way. And I feel like judging by even just today's results, which are super humbling, it feels like in my little world. It's my heart grew a few times today. It's growing.
mhm.
It's rewarding to see that. I feel like I've been wandering around, for 30 years waiting to find people that would go like, no, I get it. I get it. I finally feel like, oh my God, like finally, where have you people been?
Better late than never.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
And speaking of playing live, over the past year or so, you and Phil Varone have put together a newer version of Saigon Kick. You did the tour for Water, celebrating its 30th anniversary. Um, the current lineup, you also have Stephen Gibb and
Mhm.
the patron saint of misplaced straws, Mr. Jeff Scott Soto.
Who doesn't
Now,
love them some Jeff Scott Soda?
gotta get him in every interview. It's a rule I have. Do you think you'll continue to do some shows as Saigon Kick coming up?
It was really, we did two shows. We did Chicago, which was just unbelievably amazing, and Tampa, which is
Mm,
the passion and love that people have for those records is just
mm,
really special. That being said, and I've said this before, Saigon Kick is like the Poltergeist house. It's been built on an Indian burial ground, and regardless of anybody's intentions, people are going to wind up screaming and crying,
mm,
shortly after our
yeah,
assemblage, and not because of anybody's fault in particular. Um, but we definitely would do that. I don't know. The beauty of it is like I love Jeff like a brother. You know this, and,
mm,
and everybody does. And Stephen Gibb. I couldn't speak more highly of a human being. And Phil, it's so nice that we kind of had this horrible past that I think somehow as adults we were like, what the hell was that about?
yeah,
And to be able to just more importantly than even the shows to be able to not be in a room and want to kill each other was a
mm,
huge victory.
yeah.
Um, so we rated the shows on the lack of violence success meter. Like no one actually choked anybody. That's pretty good.
It's a
That's
win.
that's like a hit single for us. Um, So it was great, and we'll do it as it pops up. There's been a lot of people, I shouldn't say, but people have been asking, would you
Mm,
do this festival? Would you do that? And then between, Jeff, who's like the Sammy Davis Jr. of heavy metal, he's working every single possible event on Earth at the same
mm,
time. And Steven has his own band that's doing great called Kill the Robot. And he's a really successful video editor at the moment, doing all kinds of cool stuff. So, it's like if they line up for everybody and we
mm.
can do some stuff, we definitely would consider it.
Yeah. And then also you and Soto have your duo shows, the Soto Bieler shows, which is my favorite show of the year every year.
Thank you.
Will we be seeing some more dates coming up there as you guys usually do like a spring run and then some stuff over the summer?
Yes, that's been just an unbelievable treat, as you know, because it's just grown into something really special.
Mhm.
And you know, um, anytime I get to spend time with Jeff, he's such a brilliant singer and a great dude. And there's no stress, and we're not trying to. The beauty of that, and I think why it works, is because neither of us are writing music with each other.
Yeah.
So it's totally about going out, interpreting some of our favorite songs, and just goofing around.
Mm.
In all fairness. So we're doing the Monsters of Rock cruise again, coming up,
Yep.
obviously in about a month, which is just a family reunion between the Queensryche guys and
Mm.
Extreme and all these friends of ours. And we're doing a bunch of. We'll probably go back and do a bunch of the city wineries again next year, and
Mm.
our annual show in Boca is being assembled at the moment, and back to the West Coast. And things like that. So yeah, it's something that's just so great to do because we can do it anytime we want.
Yeah. And I can't recommend those shows enough. Again, it's just the most fun you will have at a concert all year long. They're
Oh,
great nights.
thank you.
And now, other than world domination,
Clearly.
what's next for you? And do you obviously you enjoy doing the Baron von Bielski stuff because his records just keep getting better. Do you have any interest in kind of putting together an all-star project to record or tour? Do you like the way things are going, or are you thinking, okay, maybe it's time to try something different?
I'm really happy at the moment. I mean, especially because it's been growing, and that's makes the decision a lot easier.
Mhm.
Um, uh, and the freedom we have, and the musicians I'm dealing with, and Adu, who's playing on drums on this record, and Andy Blacksugar, who've been my kind of nucleus collaborators,
Yeah.
and Robert, who's been doing the artwork. It's been one of the more rewarding experiences of my life, in terms of just the joy of being, and not to mention all the guests over the years,
Mm.
whether it's Bumblefoot or Devin Townsend or David Ellefson, or the list goes on and on of just people I've been lucky, Butch Walker, and God knows who else. Yeah, we're in a really good spot. So, and also I'm just, I just feel like there's a lot of musicians who are fantastic at it. They do everything, and they're in 8 bands, and they tour constantly, and they every day is a new project and a new single and a new this. For me, it confuses me,
Mm.
and it feels like I want to try to do one thing really well.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's hard to do that when you do everything all the time,
Mm.
in my opinion. And let me preface that by saying, screw me. I don't mean that as to disparage anybody else's career choices.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate that I can do that, but that's just kind of where my head's at. I like to
Yeah.
like live in my own little demented world.
Well, and we love being along for the ride, that's for sure. We've been spending some time here with Jason Bieler. The record is called The Escapologist. It's out everywhere you buy your records and tapes on February 21st. Jason, it's always a pleasure having you on here. Definitely look forward to at least catching a Soto Bieler show this spring when you hit the East Coast.
Absolutely.
But best of luck with the new record.
Thank you so much for having me on. As always, we need to catch up more than just when I make a new record. You're making me have to release a record just to talk to you. It's getting to be,
Exactly. Well, that's why, if we keep doing a record a year, get you on some tours, then, we get this thing going. We got a thing here, my friend.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, buddy.
Yep.